metallic debris that you're out of a system. Say if you have a homeowner standing over your head watching, it's kind of impressive to them. This, and they call it a rad hammer, nylon block. You put it on a hammer drill, and you up and down radiators and basically vibrate them or agitate them and loosen the debris quicker than just waiting for the cleaner to, flush it off. So handy. The thing, I've got some guys amazing, they don't even think of this, that if they are a believer and just want water, in a system, but they need freeze protection on the outside, or cases where somebody like a Apple, some sort of Apple processing plant in Canada, just put in 6 brand new aluminum boilers, didn't realize till afterwards you cannot use aluminum safe glycol and still have NSF rating. So they were pretty screwed because they were eating the boilers up. They didn't want to replace all of them, and they got hold of us. And I talked to the guy. I said, well, if you only need the NSF out in your processing, just use that plate heat exchanger, isolate that system from the boiler itself, runs aluminum safe on the boiler, and then your NSF out in the plant. He had talked to 3 different companies, and nobody gave him that idea.
Our type of education will never end.
No, it really won't. And that's such a simple one, I feel, but got to get about it, so that's why that one's actually in there. And good people just really don't think about.
Flatter.
I had a guy called, and he's like, well, how do I neutralize it? And they get selling our chemicals. Like, well, let me go again. And there you're back up.
Yep.
Okay.
They're all the way back up to the top again.
You bet. Third day.
It's beautiful. I'm up and kick my dogs out and close the door so that they don't bother us. Hold on, I'll be right back.
You bet.
Alright, it is 4:59, so we've got according to watch, another minute left.
Okay, I get 454 on one and 459 on the other. So yeah. Dogs you have?
Golden Doodle. I call him EMO dog.
Shedding? Do they really not shed?
Well, he shed, but it's not a fur; it's a hair. It's really easy to pick up, and people are not allergic to evidently. I'm not allergic to dogs, so it's not an issue. And never had a problem. He's the smartest dog I've ever owned. And all around him. If I stuck around him, he knows what I mean and gets all excited if I mention going for a ride or a walk or anything like that. So we have to spell. And he's a character.
I had a golden retriever. I've had 3 dogs that, out of dogs I've had, were just exceptional. One was a German Shepherd, one was a Yellow Lab, and one was a golden retriever. And the Yellow retriever, boy, it's tough which one was better.
Yeah, a lot of trees, but dog is a change of pace, and dog. The other one is just a little punting dog. It's a cross between a Shih Tzu and something. He thinks he's a cross between a Shih Tzu and a Bulldog, but he's not. Go ahead and get this puppy started.
All righty.
Good afternoon, good day from the world headquarters of the Radiant Professionals Alliance. Welcome to HydroniX Talk. It is a presentation of the Radiant Professionals Alliance. I'm Mark, I'm your host. I have been of the Radiant Professionals Alliance for the last 3 years, and I've been a member for the last 20 years. I'm a contributor to Contractor Magazine for an article called From Sips, and have been a caterer for 39 years. I'm a former witness and still a current licensed master plumber. Maintain my licensure, but I don't advertise that because people say, come on over and play cards, and oh, do you have a plunger I can borrow? The road, if you've computer like to speak to us, we'd prefer that you use headphones with a boom mic if possible to avoid feedback, which will blow other people's eardrums out. We have a question and answer text box. If you've got a question, please enter it into that. Tom has agreed to take the questions as they come, as opposed to letting them wait until the end of the presentation. So I'll be keeping an eye on that box, and if we have a question, I'll stop Tom and ask to answer the question. I'd like to for taking time out of your busy schedule and attending this show. I'm a fan of alternative radiant heating systems. This is a radiant wall project that we did for a Habitat for Humanity project here in Denver, Colorado. And the consumer that ended up owning this house so that it was the most comfortable home he ever had. Also had the highest energy rating of any home that had been built at that point in time. Also radiant ceilings. This is a radiant ceiling that's in the house that I own up in the mountains. Articles I've written about it called HydroniX. To a lot of different fuels, propane, electricity, heat pump, ground source heat pump, wood mass, solar thermal, and it up so that when I retire in a couple of years, I'll be able to go up there and basically live without having to expend a whole lot of time, effort, and money. The advertisement that you will see on our show, we would request that if you are not a member of the Radiant Professionals Alliance that you join us, radiantpros.org, and click on the join button, and take a minute and look at the website and see some of the information that we have available. It's a 20-year-old nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the use of radiant heating and cooling systems, primarily hydronic-based. But we don't focus only on that. If a company has an electric radiant panel that they would like to introduce to us, we'd be more than to bring them on and present to so that they can be aware. Talk show happens once a month where we have us come in that we interview. We also have open Q&A sessions following the interview, and it doesn't have to pertain to the actual interview itself. So if you've got a problem that you've been able to solve, you bring that problem to us, and we'll open it up to our attendant and our guest and see if we can find a solution for you. These shows are archived for members only for review at a later date. These shows will be fun, educational, entertaining, and oh, did I mention fun? I'd like to submit a guest interviewee. Send our information to me. It's mark.etherton@radiantpros.org, and I will do the process of vetting them and finding out what it is that they do and make sure that it's relevant to the function organization does. Just quick hydronic news that you can use. It's summer. There's not a lot going on. The RP University spring courses, heat spring courses are still available. That's at heat.com. Check it out. There's a lot of really good classes by a lot of really good instructors that we have available up there. John Dollar is an instructor up there, Dave Yates, Robert Bean, lots of different courses, and really pretty much anything that you want. You get in there and get a lot of information out of it. We also have ASSE Series 19210 Train-a-Trainer program that will be coming up in August 29th to the 31st in Illinois. And you signed up in advance for that. We've got a block of rooms available at $99 a night for the 3 days that we will be there for. And we're giving an exam at the end of that training program. And if you will become an ASSE certified trainer. And in addition to that, the ASSE 19210 contractor certification program, process of putting our first training program together for that late October or early November or both. and either in Mokina, Illinois, or possibly Rhode Island. So keep an eye on your email for additional information on that. And if you would like additional information in the meantime, feel free to send me an email at mark.etherton@radiantpros.org. And is Thomas Jorn. Thomas is Rhomar Water. And I transfer the ball over to you, so you are now in control. Welcome to our show, and thank you very much for taking time to make this presentation.
Thanks for having me. Again, we're trying to make it fun and not boring. I Rhomar Water for about 2 years myself. I'll give you a quick background. I've been in the HydroniX industry for about 20 years total. It's one of the largest manufacturers of inhibited glycol, and with manufacturer's rep, and then got back into the glycol world. And Rhomar Water has been in since about 1984, 1985. Got into the inhibited glycol about 15 years ago, and is a privately held company. And like I tell people all the time, we are big enough to get it done right, but we are small enough that nothing's black and white. We're every gray with us. So we're very accommodating when it comes to customers, contractors. We don't have the rules that a big corporation has to follow. So with that, we'll get going. And again, questions can be taken, I have them. Just free to speak up, and we'll do the best to give you the answer. If not, I'll find something that you like. So here we go. Well,
Tom?
it is now. Is it? Never caught up. I don't know what happened there. All right. The issues of this again is just give you some basic, information regarding water quality and the proper glycol for the correct job. The water quality, I really cannot speak enough about how important it is, and it gets overlooked by over 50% of the people. You look at the hardness, you need to look at the pH, where you get your water from. Well, will typically have bacteria, can have a lot of iron. So we're going to address a little bit of everything when it comes to water quality. And again, I just can't emphasize this enough. You really need to adhere to the manufacturer of the equipment, standards for water quality, as they are really more and more that it affects their equipment. The longevity of all equipment is affected by the water quality, whether it's just straight water or water quality that you're mixing with glycol. You use an inhibitor protection package or your glycol that has an inhibitor protection package in it. If you do not use quality water, the inhibitor packages will diminish much quicker than they would if you use good water. So we're going to talk about that. Next on the system, got some values that'll show you what bad water will do to the system. Clean the system, that is obviously a huge concern as well. Even if it's a new system, it must be cleaned. So we'll talk about that again. If you have questions, please ask. We manufacture glycol inhibitor packages, corrosion inhibitors. We were one of the first, if not the first, to come out with an aluminum safe glycol. There were several out there, and I can tell you I worked for the other company at that time and seen catastrophic failures left and right from several glycol manufacturers. I can tell you, going back then, seen Rhomar's name pop up as far as having catastrophic failures or any failures in the aluminum world. And this day, Rhomar still has one of the, if not top name in aluminum safe products. And I'll try to address this again. when we say aluminum safe, that does not mean it cannot be used with other metals. One thing we noticed in the last couple of years is some of the aluminum safe product sales diminished. People, they only had aluminum, they did not, or that they needed the Rhomar. They didn't have aluminum, they didn't need to use it. Well, the truth of the matter is, the Rhomar is our aluminum safe, and our inhibitor package, same thing. It's aluminum safe, but it's really multi-metal safe. So we have changed our verbiage lately on labels, and anywhere you find our data, we have changed that because it is multi-metal safe, and the pH of our product, of our Rhomar, is conducive for aluminum, stainless, copper, brass, bronze, cast iron. It doesn't matter. You really need to watch other people's products because their category changes for different system metals. Generally, their pH does as well. So a lot of times when you don't have an aluminum boiler and you go to the next glycol up, their pH might be 9 or 9.5 or 10. And for stainless steel, you actually want that pH at that 7 to 8.5, 7 to 9 range. So a lot of other products will not meet that. So a lot of things you need to look at, but it's not rocket science, or I couldn't do it. Again, this just kind of gives you an idea of what we offer. We do truckloads, we do buckets, we do 55-gallon drums, we do totes. It doesn't matter, we will have what you need. Guess I really only use the PowerPoint so I don't forget something completely, or if a squirrel runs by, I don't get off track. Again, Rhomar's been around over 25 years. We have the best products out there.
I have for you.
Absolutely.
Where's Hedgepeth?
He retired. He's on a 500-acre farm in Springfield, Missouri.
Good for him.
Yeah, he really made a name for himself and for Rhomar Water, and he announced his retirement is kind of when they decided to bring me on board. I've been out the field. Dwight and I sat down, and we switched back and forth, and I don't know that there was any that he knew that I didn't know their name, and vice versa. It's kind of a small world when you get into this industry.
It is.
So
yeah.
Dwight's a really good guy, and again, he did a great job with Rhomar, and I win well now with his retirement, and I have to say I'm jealous.
Well, my best if you talk to him.
I will, absolutely. So again, what we do, we have all sorts of inhibited products. We have glycerin, we have glycol, water inhibitors. Pretty much if it's hydronic related, we can take care of it for you. We have NSF certified products for the geothermal industry. Support and service, I really think, is second to none. I have challenged people in the past to call some of the leading competitors and see how quick you get help, and then is that help helpful or not? Rhomar, you call the office, you actually get a person that answers the phone, and tell people Miss Beverly's kind of like that dog that licks you to death. She's just so friendly, and she'll get you need to talk to immediately. We do commercial, we do residential. We have product for ice melt, solar, ice rinks. It doesn't matter. Again, if it's closed system, HydroniX, generally we got the product for it. And speaking of that, and because I had this question the other day, somebody had some of our information and they wanted to know why or when you would use glycerin. And in Lamar's, Iowa, we're looking at a job right now that somebody bid cheap and they use CPVC in that system rather than copper or metal. And they put glycol in it at first and started having leaks all over the place. You cannot use glycol with CPVC. It will turn the pipe to mush. And then also got acidic on them. They flushed it. They put glycerin in it because they had heard they could use glycerin. Well, you can use glycerin, but in the system, glycerin will break down rather quickly quickly if you do not put inhibitors in it. So pH plummeted to about 3 and ate the glue out of the fittings and started leaking all over again. So we are going to, I believe, flush that system. They are talking of repiping it in all metal, but otherwise we're going to flush the system, clean it, start back over with fresh glycerin and deionized water mixture, and then we'll be adding our Protect 922 to help buffer the pH and inhibitors in as well. And should give it several years of trouble-free operation. Then they'll send a sample in, we'll test it, and we'll tell them if they need to do anything at that time or not. So
you mentioned to them that the CPVC is also not a non-oxygen barrier type of tubing. They do have some new tubing out that is oxygen barrier, but most stuff that's on the market is not oxygen barrier tubing, so they'll have that issue as well.
And on a lot of those, I have been telling people increase their system pressure. Some people, just absolutely said they won't run it at 17 or 18, but atmospheric pressure is 14.7. In theory, if you increase your system pressure, you won't get as much oxygen permeate through. And again, there's one of the things where Rhomar water comes in. If you're having problems with the system and can't figure it out, and usually we can help fix it, tell you what to do, where to go, how to get yourself back on track, because there's just different things out there. The non-oxygen barrier cause havoc on all sorts of systems. Then there are ways to combat that problem. Shoreline the pipe out, there is no way of fixing it.
Used in fire protection systems too, is it not?
Correct. We do have a fire protection product out there as well. We're going to probably start pushing a little harder in the next year or so.
Great.
Basics of water, most people know it is a solvent. Can dissolve many substances. You pour it on concrete, you'll see a spot afterwards generally. Pure really does not exist in nature. Dissolved solids, you can't see them. Suspended can be filtered out. You have gases. Oxygen is the most prevalent gas, and you can get rid of it with air filters. And if you increase glycol percentage, make sure you run above 25%. Glycol itself is a natural oxygen scavenger, so above 25%. That'll help eliminate the oxygen in the fluid product itself. If you're running just water, you need to make sure you run an inhibitor with good oxygen scavenger effect in it. Basics, and it's almost a perfect heat transfer fluid. Yes, that's to a point. It does offer great transfer properties, but what makes water a good transfer is the contaminants, for lack of better words, in the water. Your hard parts in there, your magnesium, your chlorides, your iron, that is what helps transfer the heat. But that is also what will scale up a system. And look at it this way. Do you want to scale up the system and lose the efficiency of the system, or have better transfer within the fluid product? If you use ionized water, and I'm a glycol guy. I know there's a lot of guys out there that like water. Glycol to me offers too much for the little you lose over good quality water. It's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. Use at least 25% of glycol no matter what. So you take all them products out of the water, make deionized water or demineralized water, so you scale the system out. Now your transfer is less than it was before. And the transfer of pure clean water, deionized water, versus a 25% glycol with deionized water mixture in it is not high, probably 4 to 6%. It will take that loss there over scaling the system up and losing the efficiency. And efficiency is going to continue to drop. That's one thing it's kind of an unseen thing. I use this analogy a lot. If you put a frog in a pan of boiling water, he will jump out to save himself. If you plug in a pan of water and slowly bring it to a boil, he'll sit there until he dies. happens so subtly that you don't even realize it. People blame their high heat bill on it's colder this winter, gas prices went up, or electric went up, and a lot of times that may be a little bit of it, but more likely the majority of it could be from their system starting to fail when it comes to efficiency. Needs to be considered. You know, again, just pounding the pure water, the clean water, it's just such a huge thing anymore. You've got it, boiler manufacturers, they're looking at it, and I'm sure any of you that have been buying boilers are realizing you're not getting the warranties taken care of like you used to. That's because everybody is really starting to see what's going on. A lot of people buy the water is so much worse now than it was 30 or 40 years ago. We are kind of our own enemy. The road salts we put on the roads, they have washed off. They now made it to the aquifers, and that is why we have such poor water quality. The nitrites going on the fields. Rango, Colorado, out there kind of in Mark's neck of the woods. The harder I've ever seen, they tell me it's 100 grains of hardness coming out of the tap.
You know, the advantage to having hard water like that, especially if you're a fisherman, because you don't have to walk around the lake. You can walk across even in the middle of the summer.
Exactly.
You can chew water too.
You can chew your water. You can throw it at your So yeah, it just water quality, water quality, water quality. Can't emphasize it enough. And again, the pH. You need to look at the pH. You can have water that the hardness might be in check, but the pH might be out of whack. Test your water. Don't assume anything. Mark?
For years, the old adage was, and I've been doing this for a long time, so I've talked to a lot of the older plumbers. They used to call what would happen in an old closed loop steel and cast iron system, plumbers black gold. You know, basically the oxides. And it's that when you know that you're in good shape because basically it's gotten to the point where it's dead water. But they were sloughing off material from those thick castings for the radiators and the steel pipes and the boilers. And the materials being as thin as they are, we can't afford to do that. You can't guess. You can't say, well, hey, you know, it's potable, so it's got to be okay. The things that are in the water that we drink, the effect on us. But as you mentioned, chloride cracking is a major issue with the stainless steel boilers. And if you pay attention to details and not addressing that, when the man gets the boiler back and realizes that it's chloride stress cracking, he's going to say, sorry, you have no warranty. In which the consumer's then looking at maybe $5,000 to $10,000 to replace the contractor to do his due diligence in the way of water quality.
Absolutely. And speaking of the contractor due diligence, I believe being a sales person nowadays as a contractor is a necessity. It's trying to get more out of the consumer, and you do as an end result of trying to make sure they allow you to do it right. So it costs an extra $1,000 to clean the system and get good quality water or a good quality water and glycol mixture. It costs more up front, but in the long run, it's going to save them. And as contractors, you need to focus on that. You need to services because you should be proud of what you know and what you do. Then you have to relay that to the homeowner. You have to get them to understand that you are paid what you are because of what you know and how you do things.
And the competition isn't, and you don't get what you don't pay for. And you have to the consumer. And, when I was still in the contracting business, I was never the low bidder. I didn't want to be the low bidder. I wanted to be the most comprehensive, all-inclusive contractor that they'd ever met. And when I make my presentation to them, and they'd look at other competing and go, geez, this guy's got a lot of exclusions. That's right. He's got a lot of exclusions. We've got all inclusions. We didn't exclude anything. And do all of this in order to get a complete system. And if you don't, then you won't end up with the same thing. So it's unfair to compare Josh to my apples. You're right. Everybody's got to sell. You got to sell. You have to be the shiny suit salesman, but you have to make a presentation that basically impresses the consumer that you do know what you're doing and that you have their best interest in mind.
Absolutely. And I've had some contractors that, they understand it, they get it, but they're afraid they're going to lose a job. I will use 2 quotes. Here's no schmo quote. He's going to come in, all he wants is your check now, and he hopes the system lasts past his year warranty, and he's out the door and on site. Here, I can do it that way if you want, but here's how I rather do it. But explain to them why you're charging them more. Tell them what they're getting out of, that extra $800 to $1,000, what they're getting extra. Got salespeople as well.
Yep.
What is it? Inorganic material. It's usually calcium chloride, maybe some calcium carbonate, lime scale. And any time you get scale going on, you're losing efficiency. And more times than not, behind that scale, you have erosion going on as well. So you're tearing the system basically in 2 ways. You're not getting the efficiency you should, and latest presentation, you'll see a picture of a pipe that fell out of a system as we started cleaning it. It's because of the erosion going on behind the scale. And when we ran the cleaner through it, at first they started blaming our cleaner, saying it ruined the system. Well, no, we just found all the leaks that it was going to have sometime down the road. It actually came from the field. These were pictures that pump on the left. Actually, it was a pump that I was on the job site at South Dakota, 46 grains hard water, and that pump is only 6 months old. Non-barrier system. They were a heat exchanger every 6 months. First, they were blaming the boiler manufacturer. Then they were blaming the glycol manufacturer, who they were blaming me, and come to find out it was not my product. I can tell it was one of the top products in the country as far as brand recognition. It was not my product. They didn't realize they had non-barrier PEX at the time either. So what we told them to do was clean the system with our cleaners, raise system pressure, increase the percentage of glycol from 25 to 40% to help get the extra oxygen scavenger. An extra inhibitor pack that we offer, because it was a non-aluminum boiler, it was stainless steel, so we used a Boiler Guard 926 on top of glycol that has extra oxygen scavenging effect. Told them if they want to really go after it and protect the system even more, they could isolate it with a flat plate heat exchanger, which we'll talk a little more about later as well. But again, it's having the arsenal, knowing you have in it, to combat the problems as they come up. And just different view, and then there's another pump housing. Again, water quality. If you bought, and another analogy, if you have a new car and 6 months later you've seen that in your engine, wouldn't you be ticked off? Well, when a owner sees that kind of stuff, it's the same deal. Their system's 6 months old, their boiler failed, they're bloody because they don't know enough about it. If you time and the extra, added expense, if you would, to do it right, you will eliminate these problems. And when you don't get called back and your van's not in the neighbor's drive every 6 months, the neighbors are going to take notice and say, wow, we see him there all the time. Is you having that much stuff done, or is he there on the same call at the time? Well, he's always working on my boiler. Can't get it right. Neighbors aren't going to call you. But when they see his van there, only your van there once in a while, then they start talking and say, oh, he came in, did a boiler. We haven't had a problem with it, so we have to fix this too. You've been building credibility, and that's going to just add to your business. That there actually, it was from a church, an engineer in Dubuque actually gave me that pipe, take a picture of. And again, that pipe there, he said was about 5 years old. That was on the cold water side.
Wow. The hot water looks like.
Exactly. You look at the efficiency, you got to be losing. It's just amazing. And another one, which brings up a thing, autofill valves. Do not use them, get rid of them, throw them away, unhook them, the pipe off, whatever you got to do to handle shut. Don't use autofill valves. which I haven't handled, but don't use autofill. 2 reasons. If you get a leak, you'll never know it. If you leak, and especially if you have glycol, you're going to bleed the glycol out, not know it. At some point, you're going to freeze the system up, but very least, you're just continuously adding bad water, and that's what your pipes are going to look like. Do use autofill valves.
No is a good leak.
Absolutely. Here, as we were cleaning, and you get up, there's more scale on there. Our clean had already started taking some of the scale out, and it just this other slide, 1 quick minute. The pipe left, yes, it's scaled up, but more of the reason I showed that, if you look, that is zinc pipe, galvanized pipe. Not use galvanized pipe in a system. We'll strip the zinc off of the pipe, and now you have a contaminant in the product itself.
Good point.
From our friends at Califfi, here's a picture of a pump. Again, the reason why you need to take care of your water quality or your water going into it, make sure it is of quality. The CM pumps are great, but the fluid inside the system to help cool them. Well, don't have a lot of room. You've got magnets in there, so debris is going to collect in this pump, and it's going to shut the pump down. Guess what? You get the pump back, and they look at it. You're not getting a free pump out of them. Another great. I don't take anything away from the ECM pumps, but they'll be a little more sensitive than your typical circulation pump. But if you take care of the product, the water quality and the glycol going into them, you'll eliminate these problems. Actually came from Califfi as well. You might have seen it on their presentations. Magnetite and magnetite, they're just another, iron oxide, rust, basically. These systems, you have problems. Some people, what caused it? Well, we're telling you what caused it. Everything we have said up to now is what causes that. If you do not look at your water quality, you're good at problems like this. Water quality.
On the left, I've seen rust that color before in systems that had iron-reducing bacteria in it.
Correct. I was trying to think of the actual scientific name about that. I was just looking at something today about that. Something.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I know that it was actually a contaminated drill bit that was used to drill the well, and it contained the aquifer, and we couldn't get rid of it. I mean, they tried shocking the water with chlorine and everything, and couldn't get rid of it. We ended up having to treat closed-loop heating system with glycol to kill the bacteria, and then hone water in to refill it with to keep it from continuing.
Wow. A little thing, and look at the devastation it can cause.
Yeah, not pretty. It looks like blood.
Yeah, it's, again, most of you guys that have been out there doing this, you've run across this at some point in time. Here to help you not run across it anymore. This basically giving you the efficiency loss of scale. You're going to realize what a 1/16 of an inch can do, but efficiency loss, it adds up quickly, and it adds up to more bills, heat exchanger failure. I've had guys that have been doing this a long time. They don't understand why the heat exchanger looked like it did and why it burned out in one spot. A scale up, and this doesn't matter if it's a boiler, a water heater, a tubeless water heater. It'll scale up in one spot. The burner has to overfire to try to hit set point. It's weakening that metal. Eventually, it will burn through the metal. Another thing, you've got to take care of the water. Quality water. I turned my words around there for you guys. I'm sure you're tired of hearing water quality.
I had a copper tube boiler that the guy had a leak underneath the floor. That the side of the copper tube heat exchanger looked just like that one copper pipe that you had from Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
He replaced his boiler years in a row. Not one person mentioned why. They just, she's glad to stay out of the boiler. Because the heat exchanger got so hot that it actually melted and collapsed into the combustion
chamber. And
Well,
this is
yeah.
not normal.
And like you say, some people just don't question it. They just keep throwing, good money after bad.
Yeah.
Dump fluid. And he, because what Mark put there, when change out on a boiler, and did that system, and it wasn't very long ago, and you put really good quality water in it and glycol system, clean the system, anything you do a boiler change out. Buy a brand new car, you don't tell them, well, take the fluids out of my old car and put in the new one. New heart, you don't tell the doctor, I'll use my old blood if that's what caused the problem. I'm okay with that. I'll just get another heart at some time. You've got to clean the system, get rid of the old fluid, and start over. You're just going to tear that new boiler out sooner than later. It's a way of, obviously measuring, electrical current. There's different reasons you can have conductivity or TDS. That's one way we can measure inhibitor amounts also. So more than just sticking a TDS meter in it, it gives you a good reference point, whether you're with tolerance or not. But if you're getting kind of funky reading and you've checked meter, you've counted it, we're getting something that just doesn't make sense to you, send it in to us. We'll test it. We'll tell you what that water quality is like and what causing the conductivity. Again, pH can be all over the place with different waters. They kind of give you an idea of where pH is at. Alkaline is generally considered, a cleaner, so to speak. And when you get to the bottom, it's acidic, which most know. Now, one thing a lot of people do not know, it's a logarithmic scale. And what that means is obviously 7 is neutral. Well, 7 to 8 and 7 to 6, that's 3 times worse than 7. 6 to 5 and 8 to 9, that's 1,000 times worse. And then 1,000 times worse. So the pH number, even though it's only 1 point off, is, very extreme when you go from 7 to 9. That's a huge jump in pH. And metals are not part of that. You're going to tear the system metals up. Metals will handle 7 to 9. You start with 9 on aluminum, stainless, you're going to have problems. So pH. They need to put Jim Beam on here. I'd like to know what I put into my belly, but again, the aluminum's most sensitive. These charts too, and this is something that I've got a couple people agree with me because they're not sure, not enough to make a statement. They're really old for the pH readings. And I tell you from past experience, selling sulfuric acid to a galvanizer years ago, that it was causing, as soon as I sold them the product, 6 months later, they were having hoist fall from the ceilings. Chains were falling from the hoist. They were having bolts fall out of the roof. They were blowing sulfuric acid. Which sulfuric acid is sulfuric acid. Your pH is generally going to be the same as long as you're talking the same concentration. And this was 35% sulfuric acid. They were ready to sue me and this and that. And I went in and asked, did you change this? Did you change that? There's something doing it besides my acid. Months we fought and tried to find it out. And I happened to be talking to one of the guys on the dock one day. They still haven't figured that out. And I said, no. And I'd asked them several times if they'd changed their metal. They told me no. This was probably that crap metal they're buying now. So they haven't changed. If you didn't change our vendor, they started shipping us recycled metal. The sulfuric acid was reacting to contaminants in the recycled metal, started eating everything around it. They cleaned everything, cleaned all their pots out, went back to their original metal, no more problems. So because of that, I gotta believe that some of these metals now are recycled metals it may be a little more sensitive to pH than what these charts really reflect. But I like I said, there's a few other people have agreed with me. So again, you don't know if you can totally trust these charts, but it does give a great idea of where pH really starts affecting everything.
But it's virtually impossible to find pure virgin aluminum anymore.
Absolutely. You got Bosch now impregnating it with products, and I believe some others are doing some stuff to their aluminum as well. Some of it try to eliminate porosity or help from that. Some of it's to protective shield. But yeah, they're sensitive. And there's nothing wrong with the aluminum for you guys that say you'll never put in another aluminum boiler because you've had problems. It was the boiler's fault. The product you were putting in it. Again, just steel or iron. You want perfect heat exchanger, there you go. You're going to pay for it, but there you go. Again, aluminum has better conductivity than stainless steel. Nothing wrong with stainless. Actually has better expansion and contraction characteristics as well. Again, I just want to say there was nothing wrong with the aluminum boilers. It's just guys that take care of the product you put in them is what causes problems. This is a corrosion chart. Most of you guys are familiar with that, the potential. You add your numbers up and it gives you more of a potential. That you can get galvanic corrosion. You can also get electrolysis. Electrolysis generally, if you have that going on in a system, it'll strip. If you have a horizontal pipe, it'll strip the top layer of that pipe and it'll settle on the bottom. And a boiler in New England states, they've gone through a heat exchanger every 25 to 30 days, 3 months in a row. They could figure out what was going on. The water was the same. Everything was done the same, and they had no problems with the other homes. One home they were having problems with. I just walk in, I looked at their pipe, going on, and I told them, you got electrolysis somewhere in the system. And I said, boiler? Yep. And I said, stud guards. Just looked at each other very funny, and, well, yeah, it's required. I said, this has them, right? They just come to each other, and they were construction guys. They did more than just boilers in this town. So they were part of this house build. Long story short, they tagged a wire in the wall when they mounted the boiler, and they were feeding current back. It wasn't enough to blow a breaker, but they tagged it just enough to get some electric going through there. I've also seen a short in a boiler before, voltage short. It was throwing weird error codes all the time. They couldn't find it. They ripped the boiler out, put a new one in, problems anyway. Weird there.
Just seen everything, you find out you've seen nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been around this too long, I think. I've seen things that they cannot happen. I have seen things that are impossible on paper, and they do happen. Oxygen chart, the higher the temperature, the less oxygen you have. Again, use separators on your systems helps eliminate the oxygen. There's many companies out there like Caleffi, Spirovent that are putting them out there. Caleffi, I really like what I see with theirs. So use them. Dirt and air separators, it's really going to help you in the long run. People, if you do a system right from the beginning, you don't need filters. On the same token, I am a proponent of preventive maintenance. You can throw a filter or something in there to prevent, if it does happen, why wouldn't you do it? The failure, again, is one of the most common causes and difficult to control. Speaking, and again, going back to glycol, two things, glycol, heat and oxygen. If oxygen in that system, you will degrade the glycol. If you out of its parameters, you will degrade glycol. So you got to look at the parameters of the glycol because there are some of the aluminum safe. Their inhibitors are only good up to 160 degrees. Most going to fire hotter than that at some point in their life. I will say products are good to 400 degrees. FYI. Chlorine sulfate salts makes everything in there corrosive, and they will scale the system up. When you have corrosion going on in the system, the hotter the system, it will double the corrosion rates. So if you got a boiler that's getting hotter, and this goes back to, again, a scaled up heat exchanger, the heat exchanger scaling up, now you can't get set point as easy, so the boiler is going to start firing hotter than it did before. Now you're going to increase your corrosion. Again, it's critical to the metals. Watch the pH. The four most valuable tools the guy can walk up to a hydronic system with: nose, your fingers, a pH meter, and a refractometer. And if you all have those on hand, literally, or in your truck, you shouldn't be doing it. You can walk. The system smells really bad. There's something wrong with it. Generally, you're going to have bacteria, and if you have bacteria, generally you're going to have low pH. If it's slimy between your fingers, generally bacteria. Once you've got two tests with your finger and nose, go get your refractometer, test your glycol percentage, test your pH, see where you're at. 9.9% of the time, they're going to whack. Draw a sample, 16-ounce sample, send it in to us. We will test it, tell you what's going on. But more times than not, a system like that needs to be dumped, flushed, cleaned, then refilled. Start back from zero. Know that you have all the system clean, and go from there. Corrosion is possible with dissimilar metals. Most of you guys already know that. Biology influences corrosion. If you run your glycol at 25% and above, you're going to help eliminate a lot of this potential problem. Water is corrosive. It doesn't provide freeze protection. We know that. I had a guy calibrate his refractometer the other day. Say, duh, you put water refractometer. If it says its freeze point is 32, refractometer is good. You know that. Again, test pH. Some old system, they both need to be cleaned before you put product in them. Cleaners out there, HydroniX systems, even for tankless water heaters, the ScaleX. I had some guys use the ScaleX on boilers where it is just a lot of calcium built up in the boiler. As long as you can run as an open loop, you can use the ScaleX to get through that carbon much cleaner or quicker, the calcium chloride or calcium carbonate. That ScaleX will dissolve that quicker than using a typical cleaner. Related for hydronic systems, safe on all metals, no tritium phosphate. A lot of people don't know why that's important. Tritium phosphate is a phosphate, and phosphate and aluminum do not get along well together, especially under high temperature. Phosphate and hard water do not get along under conditions. You will actually sludge out the system with hard water and phosphates. I'll show you pictures coming up here that show that. The Hydrosolve 9100 can actually go down a septic system. We're approved by several boiler manufacturers. Scale in, it's a tankless water heater cleaner. It's good to have that. Excuse me. We have that. Again, if you have one that's just scaled up and you can clean it like you would a tankless water heater cleaner or water, I would recommend using the ScaleX over the 9100. I think we beat that up, but again, lower your fuel bills, keep your efficiency up, debris from floating in the system, ECM pumps, check valves, warm periods. This system went out on, that is phosphate sludge. That is hard water and the wrong glycol. They use phosphate-based glycol, which, to let you guys know, our Rhomar product has no phosphate in it. Of inhibit glycols use phosphate because it's relatively cheap. Use hard water, that is what you're going to get, though. They Cabela family. They actually, one of the kids built a house, and within 3 years, their HydroniX system was starting to fail and not give them the heat that they wanted. Turned out it was sludged up because of water and a poor glycol. In the system, you got flush, you got oil in them. We've actually seen dead mice come out of a HydroniX system. My house climbed into this is what we assumed happened, climbed into PEX. They backed up, got stuck in the PEX, died. They couldn't get no flow, couldn't figure out why. They'd already put the glycol in it. Well, we did what we could, started running cleaner through it. Pretty soon we found the skeleton of a mouse in there. And so, and clean the system. These systems will have foaming issues. Foam just wreaks havoc on a system. You can't have foam without oxygen. System. Again, if you, Joe contractor, go out to Mrs. Jones and tell her you need a new boiler. She's got a 80% cast iron in there, and you do your sales job, and you sell her on this new 96 plus efficiency boiler. She's happy, loves the way it looks. The color goes with her decorations better than the old one. But you don't clean the rest of the system out, you done screwed Mrs. Jones. Is not going to get the efficiency she paid for. If you're not going to clean that system, you might as well sell her the low efficiency boiler you can find. You've got your existing system. It can, plugs up, slow the flow down. Then you start losing flow, you're going to wreak havoc on your system as well. Boiler manufacturers now, they insist on seeing some proof that it was cleaned. It's going to be a 9100 for a residential. The 9250 and the 9100, they are the exact same product, just concentrations are different. And Lex, again, that is more of a tankless water heater cleaner, but you have a system that's really just scaled up with calcium chloride and such. You can actually use the Scale-X. Corrosion protection, we have the ProTech 922 and the ProTech AL. Those are the exact same products. They just, again, different concentration levels. They are safe for all metals. Were originally kind of labeled aluminum safe. They are multi-metal. And the boiler 1202, that is actually an NSF inhibitor. These are around forever in our office, and that nail on the right is pretty much gone now. The other three look just like they do in this picture, and that is the ProTech in there. Several companies are putting these displays out all over now. It is a pretty effective way to show what our products do. I do a couple of them, though. They bring them in already put together, which sometimes you question effectiveness of their inhibitors and that if they don't do it on site for you.
A question for you. What the best product to clean the phosphate sludge out of such a system would be?
The 9100 or 9250. What you do is dump your system and flush it the best you can, and run the 9100 or the 9250 at a minimum of 80 degrees temperature, and the hotter the better when you're trying to clean sludge out. It's very important to have it heated. I've had one gentleman from the East Coast call ripping my butt because he cleaned the system 3 times and said it didn't get it out. When I asked him if he ran it to at least 80 degrees temperature, it was real quiet for a minute, and then he said, "Oh crap." He said something else, but I won't say that. Admittedly, forgot to run it at temperature. I actually felt bad for the guy and actually gave him some cleaner. He called me back and said it worked phenomenally when used as suggested. Exactly. And you're welcome. It does wonders getting the sludge out, though. These will help control oxygen, stabilize the pH, metal. They're composed with other glycols out there. A lot of people will use them to re-inhibit their existing glycol. A good product to have on hand.
The term that I haven't seen in this presentation yet, and I've never understood, was passating materials.
Yeah, it's basically that's what an inhibitor does. Basically, it passates the metal. It protects the metal. It's
Okay.
your system protection. And what the inhibitors actually do, and a lot of people don't realize how they actually work. And again, it's a matter of having the right inhibitors, because not all of them will do this effectively or for longevity. If you have a new system and it's clean like it should be, you run your inhibited glycol or your inhibitor through the water in there, it creates about a 2 mil thickness on all your ferrous and non-ferrous metals. So then your fluid product is never touching the metal. It's riding along this film. And that's why it's important to have good quality water and be debris free, because if you have debris in there, and you can actually do this if you start to crystallize too. If you get your temperature right and you started to crystallize the glycol or the water, those crystals actually can scratch the inhibitors off the pipe, whatever metal you got. Well, we have reserve inhibitors in there, but now you're plumbing the reserve inhibitors. They're going to go try to patch that up. It's going to keep getting patched off. The reserve inhibitors are trying to patch that up. Eventually, you're going to get some small metallic debris floating in the product. What's the inhibitors is trying to protect the system. Now going after this floating metal, so you're putting even more, and now it's just a snowball effect. And as happens, generally your pH is going to start to plummet as well. As the pH plummets, it's going to start eating the system up. And again, you can just see this. It's just starting to snowball, getting bigger and worse and bigger and worse. And finally, you're going to have catastrophic failure. You're going to have to dump it, flush it, clean it, and start all over. And hopefully you didn't tear anything up beyond repair, other than maybe the boiler, which is easy to replace compared to the rest of the system. R1202, which we showed back there, again, that's the inhibitor we use in our EnviroGuard. Food contact safe. There really is no food grade glycol. A lot of people call and ask for it. There really is no classification like that any longer. Not anymore. You now have NSF glycol, you have industrial, or USP. Our out is USP actually, and then we go from there. It loses that once we start putting other inhibitors into it. NSF, only if you need to. There's only one inhibitor. It doesn't matter whose NSF product it is. By law, you can only use one inhibitor. That is phosphate. If phosphate-based glycol, NSF or otherwise, you use hard water, you're going to have problems. Especially with NSF, you better either buy it pre-blended or for sure you have good quality water that you're mixing with it, or you're asking for trouble. Water inhibited glycols. Because if it's ours, I don't get paid. Yeah, honestly, we do really have, and I can do this. Another glycol company. I told if you don't use mine, you can use X, Y, or Z. You'll be fine, but don't use these. There's some manufacturers I could have never went to work for, because I told the truth, or at least what my heart, the truth of their products was. The products really are some of the best out there for the best protection. Excuse me. Excuse me. We have, again, the NSF. We have one for called EnviroBrew now. We have Guard. I tell everybody, Rhomar is the go-to glycol. No matter what your boiler application or the metal is, the guard will take care of it. Good for, snow, solar. Solar can get up to temperature 800, maybe even higher than that. No inhibitors really can take that, and the only time you see that is if the panel goes stagnant, actually. Because again, we do have up to 400-degree protection in ours.
Yeah, flights I have seen commonly run as high as 350 degrees at the absorber, but when you start getting into some of those evacuated tube solar collectors, they'll take off like a rocket in full sunshine with no flow, and 800 is probably low.
Absolutely. I think 12 to 1400 is not out of the question. I'm not big into the solar, but just the people I have talked to. Is our NSF product. Opinion of Cryotech. I'm going to give you an actual opinion. I'm going to state out some information for you. Cryotech, for their own edition, or one that they say is I can't remember now, they're saying it's 65 or 50 or 70%. It's their 100 product. By their chin, it is somewhere between that 65 and 70 on the top end, but as low as 50% on the bottom end. Pails have seen variances in their percentage of glycol. Why matter? One, you may not be getting what you're paying for. Two, if you're taking their minus 100 and taking it out of a bucket and going to cut it in half, and it has to be on the low side, and you were expecting it to be on the high side, now you may have a freeze-up situation that you weren't anticipating. So that's, again, I'm not being negative towards their product. I'm only telling you what's on their own paperwork. That gets you into trouble. I tell you, Rhomar uses a plus or minus 1 tolerance on our products. Thing with the Cryotech, and look at their line, look at their information. It's there for you. That's again why I tell everybody, research the products. What I'm telling you is true, because it is. Their pH for their aluminum safe is where it needs to be for aluminum or stainless steel. But when you get into their other products, the pH goes higher than what aluminum will take or stainless steel. So you have to worry about which glycol you're using for what boiler. They have, I think, 3 different variations. And watch the pH for the system metals and the requirements per manufacturer. There are some boiler manufacturers that have not required a certain pH for stainless in the past that are now looking at doing so. No Rhomar, and I want to make this sound as a sales pitch, but the Rhomar, again, is multi-metal safe, pH is conducive for all metals. It's 8.2 generally out of the pail, so that's good for aluminum, stainless. Cast iron can take as high as 13 and be okay. Your copper can run around 9, 9.5 and be okay. So you really got to look at the product you're using, look at the pH, and look at the percentage. But when you're looking at the percentage, don't look just at their pail. Pull their SDS sheet and look at that. Again, another product out there, I have a name out there, but on their 95% concentrated glycol, by their own admission, on their own SDS sheet, it says it's somewhere between 80% and 100% glycol. That can get you in a lot of trouble if you're expecting 50% for an ice melt and you usually blend it and you're really only at 40. 10% on glycol is huge when it comes to freeze point. And you're welcome. Oops, I lost my thing here. And again, you got to look at the freeze protection. See, our own EnviroGuard, our pH is higher than what you really want for stainless. At the low point, 9.5 we're good. And stainless, again, most manufacturers are saying they want that 7 to 9. 9.5 you're okay, but I tell everybody, if you don't get NSF, don't use it. Don't even mind it if you don't need it. Use the Rhomar. It's considered hard water friendly because there's no phosphate in it. You won't create phosphate sludge. You'll scale if you use hard water with it. You'll still build scale up. It's not going to prevent that long term, but you won't get the sludge buildup. But the pH is going to be good for all metals in the system without question. You know, RTUs, and we do this no matter whether it's the EnviroGuard or the RoGuard. RTU just stands for ready to use. Cut mix the ionized water. Take a guessing game out of you know, this and a bucket of that. You're doing it. If you want 35%, I suggest you buy 40. Because if you clean the system, which I know you will after tonight, if you clean the system, you'll have residual water in there. So you want to overshoot your set point by a little bit so you compensate for that residual water. Just the system out, you're going to have between 5 and 10% left residual water. If you blow the system out, which some guys do, some don't, generally you're going to have somewhere between 3 and 6% left. You know, for quality, time to, you know, down with a bucket of this and a bucket of that, buy RTU.
It's handy when you're doing large systems.
Absolutely.
I've mixed glycol my whole life, as a matter of fact, and pre-mix, so I know exactly what's going in. I don't send glycol and then guess and then send in water and let it run for a while and check it. And commercial systems, we did a 15,000 square foot snowmelt system up in the mountains here in Colorado. We have pre-mixed glycol brought in. Man, I'll tell you what, it is so much easier.
Cystic, isn't it? Most that I know that have used RTUs never go back to mixing it after that. It's just too easy.
Yep, savings.
Absolutely. And for the little extra it costs in the bucket, again, look at the big picture. Don't step over it to pick up a dime. Mm-hmm. Our products are virgin-based glycol. You have about Cryotech. I will say Cryotech uses virgin glycol. That is huge. A lot of people out there, a lot in Colorado, they use reclaimed glycol. If it does not say virgin on the pail or on their paperwork, 99% sure it is not virgin glycol. If it's claimed, generally it's going to have acidity into it already, and you cannot get acidity back out. You cannot get chlorides and sulfates back out. And where reclaimed glycols generally come from, Denver report, the icing fluid runs plane, and when it hits the oxygen skin or the aluminum skin and there's oxygen present, that's what starts a chemical reaction. Runs the plane, it goes onto the runway. Well, what they use for ice melt on the runway? Probably chloride of some sort, mag chloride, calcium chloride. So, and dirt. They get into a tank. Somebody probably gets paid to haul it out of there. They filter it, and you get thing out, even if you know what's in it. But if you don't know what was in it, and they use some foaming agents too to help get it stick to the plane, they run this filtering system, clean out what they can. They throw a lot of foo-foo dust in there, generally phosphate, dipotassium phosphate, keep up to you as inhibited glycol. They are systems up left and right, and I can tell you there is one manufacturer that is no longer in business because of catastrophic failures, and we're actually sued by a wholesaler and at least one boiler manufacturer for catastrophic failure. Make sure it's virgin. There's a lot worse products than Cryotech out there, a lot worse. Really, we'll see it at 8 to 8.2 come out bucket, because sometimes you'll get just a little bit of a drop when it goes into the system. Again, there's for all metals, but watch water quality. Glycol versus water, again, I'm a glycol guy, always have been. I just see too much value in it. You got lubricant benefits, oxygen scavenging effect if above 25%, and it's got freeze protection. If you got an existing system, how do you tell if it's ethylene or propylene? There's two ways. You send it for an expensive lab test, or give it to a cat. If the cat it was propylene glycol. It's ethylene.
To give you cats.
Hopefully nobody on here is a cat person. I did actually run into a vet in a motel one day from Denver, like tired, but he actually said they have now started saving lives, even human, that had tested ethylene glycol by dosing them with ethyl alcohol. The ethyl alcohol will break down the ethylene glycol and let it pass through the liver instead of crystallizing in the liver, which is what ultimately kills you, is liver failure. So interesting, I thought. Mix the two together? Absolutely. Will not have any super huge adverse reaction. It's not blow up. It's not going to fall over. What happens is you lose your freeze point calculation accuracy. If it's minus 10, it's not minus 10. It's going to be off from that point. Could be minus 5, could be minus 15, depending on what you had more of. Because the point of ethylene and propylene, at 50%, ethylene's minus 34. At 50%, ethylene is minus 27, roughly. And so again, you just lose freeze point calculation, but nothing really adverse is going to happen. Can you call with cryotech? Absolutely. Dow? Absolutely. If you Dow, they'll probably tell you no, especially if it's got my product there. They're going to tell you, dump that and put mine in. You can mix glycols. The inhalers are not going to foam over, blow up. The worst that really happens is you lose your color. Cryotech being orange, mine being blue, you're going to turn to brown. I think that's what the color wheel says. But you what you're going to do is degrade one and make one better if you're really talking two different glycols. But questions I get asked a lot. Again, we can have, contact, that's where it may be used. If somebody used CBC, it's used there. As Mark brought up earlier, fire protection, suppression. They use glycerin now. They used to actually use some glycol until they realized they really didn't want that dumping on people. We have cleaning kits. We have them in liquid form and aerosol both. So you can buy one kit. Our little kits do a 25-gallon system. I think I mentioned this once before. Clean the system. So it's good to have a kit on you. You can clean the system and add an inhibitor to it right then. Comes with some pH test strips. You kind of know that components are all non-toxic. Dump them in your hand. They're not going to burn your hand off. Our advantages of using our kits, remove the corrosion. Don't screw Mrs. Jones. Get her efficiency where it needs to be when you put in that new boiler for her. Pure can be corrosive. Add the Protec. Deionized water. I've got some people that were savvy enough. They're like, well, deionized water is very aggressive. Why would you use it? Well, it's aggressive, but we have buffers in there to take out that aggressiveness. So use deionized, demineralized. People should use softened water. No, softened water, you're adding chlorides to it. So you really do not want to use softened water.
Good point.
Especially know that their water softeners are working properly. It's just a picture of our little chemical kit. I do believe though we have black bottles now. I think suppliers all don't worry, it's the same quality product in there. We do aerosols. That's a 3/4 hose bib on. You flip the top and push the button. You can inject your cleaner or treatment without knocking down the system pressure. Knox had these out first. We realized, we need them. I've got people that have switched to ours from somebody else. I've never had anybody stop using ours after that. Everybody's been very happy with ours.
Do you have a can to inject, or can you do it in the oven?
You keep it upright, actually. You do keep it upright.
Just got a tube that goes into the bottom of the can then?
We use a bladder.
No?
It's a bladder in the can, actually. People do, open the boiler drain, inject the cleaner. Before you lift off that button, and it's only happened a couple times out of I don't know how many, but a great while we'll have some reason that feed back through the top. I don't know if it's just mine. I tell just shut the boiler drain before you lift your finger off the button. Just be safe. No issue when you do that. And again, I've only seen it once or twice where for some reason they have dropped the can first and maybe damaged the top. I don't know. But I people just open the drain, inject it, shut the drain, let your finger off the button, and unhook the can and walk away. The clean nice because you can go Friday night if you know you're going to go work on that boiler Monday. Cleaner on Friday, go back Monday, drain it, clean it, and then add back your new product. We just started getting into the equipment this last year, clean equipment, demineralization equipment, test equipment more than we used to. I don't mention to you guys or not, but water quality is very important. You're demineralizes water on site. If any guys listening are service guys, if you have one of these cartridges on your truck and a bucket of Rhomar multi-mineral glycol, you can work on any boiler and know if you lose product, you can top it off with good quality water and proper glycol, because the glycol is good for any of them, and you have to travel back and forth to the wholesaler. These things are small enough you can build a little clamp holder on the side of your van and attach it right there and good to go. It doesn't matter. And I'll touch on a wood boiler here shortly for you. But new, they are made for us from Axiom. Thing about it, if somebody orders glycol, they can bring these in with the order. They are an Axiom product. Axiom's got great quality products. That's why we got them to make these for us as well. The blue, small one, actually will turn from blue to brown. When it's brown, you know it is no longer good. The blue one does not have that feature, obviously. So you need to either monitor your water with a TDS meter coming out of it, or a little flow meter you can buy that will tell you the TDS that's coming out of it, but it also measures the flow, which is nice. If you've got hypothetically 100-gallon system and you put 50 gallons of glycol in because it's ice melt and you want 50-50, sudden you hit 55 or 60 gallons of water, you better stop putting water in and put some more glycol in because you miscalculated the system. So these things are great for you service guys. I really can't emphasize that enough. I do have several guys that have started putting that combination on their truck, and like that, they go out work on a boiler and they don't have to run back to go get product that's on their truck, especially if they buy the concentrated ultra Rhomar. 94% glycol, they can mix a lot of systems off that one bucket. This capacity a little bit, this is about 12 grains hardness. 2 gallons, small one, and 264 on the big one. And again, everybody always asks, how much can I get through it? That all varies on your water quality. It removes your ions, such as the chlorides, the sulfates. It's just shy of being demineralized water, basically. High is the best you can get, then demineralized, distilled. So, and here it mentions the Rhomar meter that you can get as well as an addition. The great thing is that say Rhomar on them instead of Axiom, I get paid. Again, just saying. The RhFlush. This is actually a new unit we just brought in last year. Great cart. There are several people that have actually started little side businesses off their main service business. They go and just clean HydroniX systems. They might hire a couple people that this is all they do. They go use this cart, and you might be using circulator pumps to clean the system before, and it might take you days. You can go to this pump and cart, and you can do it in hours now, or maybe a day in extreme case. It has a reverse switch on it, so you can change the flow. But be cognizant of if you have check valves in the system or not. If you have check valves, you need to make sure you take them out, obviously, or you're not going to get that reverse flow action. Does 38 GPM and 70 feet ahead. So it'll do basically a small 3-story apartment. Very durable. I got one around in my Chrysler in my trunk. That tells you how big it is. It fits in the trunk of my car. My neighbors probably think I do my carpets every weekend because I get home, I actually take it back out of my trunk, and it does look like a rug doctor. Wheels being behind it, that's very nice because it goes up and down stairs very easily. Where one of our competitors has four wheels underneath like a shop vac. I don't know about you, but I've dumped my shop vac over I don't know how many times. Then the other problem is I've got a picture from a couple contractors that have had that cart. They pick it, they set it down, and then four casters poke themselves through the bottom. So it's an advantage we have. Plus, we have a chemical resistant shaft on ours. It's actually protected by the poly unit. You could purge. Did a small kitchen for a gym one the other day, a commercial kitchen. He caters on the side, and he had water in his system. Had never treated it, never used glycol. Went out and cleaned it for him because I wanted to use this cart and see how it worked. I purged that system for him in about an hour and a half. He said he was purging air out of it for 2 weeks the first time. So it's a great aspect as well, fill system. Mud because you're getting better flow, more flow, higher pressure than you are with your circulator pump that's on the system. Mag filter was with it, that rare earth magnets down the center of it, and it's pretty cool. We used one on that kitchen as well, and you could just see the metal particulates building up on that magnet. So nosy homeowner, and they want to see what they're getting. They actually can watch that product being pumped in there, then it saves that debris from being pumped around more too. I had a gentleman east when I started about a year ago. Well, I'd be a year last year. Went out, he said, I thought Rhomar fell off the face of the earth. He says, now I see you everywhere. Trazines, Ashray. I said, we were hiding under the bar before, but I truly believe we are holding the bar for everybody else now. We're out with new products. One we do is we change our recipe for system metals if the system metals change. So, we just continuously make our recipe better where people haven't changed theirs in probably 30 or 40 years. The Europe, they call this a rad hammer. You actually that in a little hammer drill, and you just go up and down the radiators, and it helps vibrate them and knock the scale off quicker than just using the cleaner. So it just basically will expedite the cleaning process. Again, refractometers, pH meters, conductivity meters, your finger nose, even though they're not on there. But you have these tools if you're going to be in this business, and they're cheap tools, inexpensive. Isolation, I really put this on there. A lot of people, it's such a simple fix, and if you're like me, I don't think of the simple things usually. It's a system, whether you need NSF out in the plant because it's a food production facility, and all of a sudden they put aluminum boilers in because they didn't think about it. You cannot have aluminum safe glycol that's NSF. So either things, you're either going to be certified out in the plant and get yourself into trouble, or you're going to tear your aluminum boilers up. Isolate the system out in the plant. Run safe glycol around the boilers, ice it, and then go out with NSF product in the plant. Non-barrier PEX, and you're getting oxidite corrosion gone, and you're getting all the scale and the crap coming through your boiler system. Isolate your loop field with a flat heat exchanger. Just fixes. Raise some pressure is another one. Again, I spoke earlier about atmospheric pressure being 14.7. If you run system pressure up to 16, 17, maybe even 18, in theory, then the oxygen can't permeate, or at least not as well, through the oxygen barrier PEX, and that will help eliminate your problems. Increase glycol percentage. Isolate, kind of just beat that over already. Really looking for freeze protection out in loops, and you are a water guy, isolate the loop field. System foot annually. You can do periodic checks with refractometer or pH meters. Gives you an idea if anything's going on. Again, voters can't, set it up. If it stinks, there's something wrong with it. Look at your testing. We on our lab and chemist on site. Free is our chemist. If you have a question, and I'm not a chemist, I'll tell you right now, if you start throwing formulas at me, I'm not going to answer you. They call Jeffrey or they a question, I'll call Jeffrey, then I'll call you back. But feel free to call and ask our chemist a question. If you have something that you feel is better suited for him, that's what we're there for. Technical support. I'm technical support / sales manager, but Jeffrey and I both will be your technical support. Mark.
Thank you very much, sir.
You bet. Oh, let me address this wood boiler thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead and answer that question about open systems.
What most of them I've seen do not have aluminum in them. If you do not have an aluminum in that wood fire boiler, I would say running water at our Protect 922 and our Boiler Guard 926. It's the Boiler Guard 926 because it is made for atmospheric situations where we know there's ongoing oxygen coming into it. So they're extra inhibitors for that, oxygen eating, scavenging inhibitors. I like to run both of them. If you run glycol, run the glycol in there, run it at a higher concentration because of the oxygen coming into it. About a 40% minimum, somewhere between 40 and 50 is fine. Boiler Guard 926 to that system as well. Again, because it's got the extra inhibitors just for that. That's where we are a little different than a lot of these other companies. We have these other inhibitors. Our website, which I encourage all of you to do as well, there's a glycol volume calculator on there. If you have some that's down to 18%, which no you don't want, you got to have it at least minimum 25. And you punch in the numbers, it'll tell you automatically how much to drain out and add back. There's a pipe volume calculator on there. But go on there, there's inhibitors on there, and we even have some that aren't even listed yet. That, again, you got a weird situation out there. Call me, call the office, tell us what you got, and we'll get you a fix for it. That's what we do.
I have a question about those open boiler systems. The surface interface of the water and the oxygen is the air is going to cause some oxidation. If a person put, like, say, some Nalgene chips, which is basically a polypropylene product that has high risks to melting, be able to break up that surface connection between the fluid and the oxygen and possibly reduce the amount of oxidation occurring within that system?
I'd say yes, probably. I can't tell you for sure. You know, like a lot of swimming pools use like ping pong balls to insulate. Mm-hmm. So in theory, I would say yes, it would help. As you know, you're not pumping them through a system. Yeah. Because we've even seen some skimming of bacteria on that surface of glycol and oxygen, like in certain glycol feeders because they're not sealed very well. And it's got to skim that off. It really shouldn't be happening, and we don't know exactly what's going on. I think there's more than what we know at this point. I would say in theory that would work, but will it work? Absolutely. I can't tell you that one. That's a great question and something maybe we should look into.
I test that at my house up there in the mountains one of these days.
Yeah, it would be good to know. It's something that I have not seen, but I like the thought of it, and I don't know why it wouldn't work.
All right, thank you very much for answering that question. If anybody else has any additional questions, now would be the time to pop them up there on the screen before I let Tom go. And I'll go ahead and keep moving forward here so that we can let everybody go back to their families and dinner. Month is Mark Lallement of myoverhead.com. And as a contractor, former contractor, I can tell you that when people said, "What's your?" I just kind of look at them with a blank stare and go, "I got no overhead. I'm working out of my house." And you realize that everything that you is basically a part of your overhead, your electricity bills, your insurance, your workman's comp, it's all got to be recovered somehow, including the chemicals that you're using in your heating system. It's something that every businessman needs to learn. You don't get anything away other than free advice. And got to cover the cost of doing business with these folks. So that's what Mark Lallemand is going to come in and talk to us about. And he has a bunch of other products that he features and sells. And he gives the my.com calculator away, just basically try to keep people in business. And so they are our guests for next month. And that commercial. We would love you to join the Radio Professionals Alliance if you're not a member. This is a profit organization of the members, by the members, for the members, with particularly HydroniX and radiant comfort in mind. And by means, get a chance, go check us out at radiantpros.org. We have a website there that you can look into and see what's going on. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to come in here and talk to us. And as I said, the next time you're in Denver, give me a call. And if I find my way free, I would be glad to take you out and buy you lunch or breakfast at the restaurant of my choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I know what that one would be. Yeah. I look forward to it. Thank you for allowing me to come on and, share what I know about things. Again, guys, it's not rocket science, or I would be doing it. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. And that's what we're here to do, is to help you learn some of these small things, help keep you out of trouble, and if you are in trouble, we'll get you out.
Very much, and thank you to our attendees. And I'll see you all on the 11th. I believe it's the 10th or 11th of August. And keep an eye out on emails. We'll be sending out notifications on that in the near future. So everybody have a good evening, and we will talk to you the next time.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.